What genuinely useful thing has been ruined by stupid people? Story 1: state parks, but more tainted than ruined. My husband and I hiked at 2 separate state parks this weekend, and I was appalled. We saw dog poop, dirty diapers, water bottles, and food wrappers on almost every trail we walked. Also, for the love of God, nobody wants to listen to your music. Use headphones, you heathen. Story 2: Airbnb. A cool couch surfing idea that became a way to rent a spare room and save a little money on a hotel got turned into a way to cut off housing supply and create a housing crisis, all by its own users. Story 3: Google search. At the time, Google's algorithm was a breath of fresh air compared to the dog crap Ask Jeeves. Now, its results are just those who paid the most to Google, followed by those that paid the most to SEO companies. Story 4: emotional support. Animals and service animals. Contrary to popular belief, they are not the same thing at all, and stupid people getting fake ESAs has bled into it, harming people with service animals. Only a medical professional can prescribe an ESA, not a website or registry, and an ESA is not allowed in public spaces like a service animal. It just allows the animal to live with you in places that usually wouldn't allow animals or pets. Story 5: antibiotics. Great for dealing with bacterial infections, not so good at dealing with viruses, and now we have antibiotic-resistant bacteria because of overuse. Story 6: every goddamned app on the planet wants to have you turn on push notifications. No, I do not want my phone constantly going off at all hours of the day. Story 7: at least in my area, pick your own farms. It used to be a way to get seasonal produce in bulk for a low cost because you supplied the labor of picking it. Then it became trendy to do. Now it is full of people and kids making a mess, damaging plants, picking unripe items, or deciding what they picked isn't perfect and throwing it on the ground, and eating huge amounts instead of buying. Farms have been forced to massively raise prices to compensate for the losses caused by people who have no business being in the field. Story 8: body positivity has been taken away from those with severe disfigurements and other ailments that ruin their chances of conventional attractiveness by stupid, lazy people who won't outlive an albatross to justify their hedonistic lifestyle, backed by the scientific understanding of a second-grade class's pet goldfish. Don't get me wrong, I don't think anybody should be made to feel bad for the body they're in. But who do you think of when you hear body positivity? The glorification of obesity or acid burn victims. Story 9. The word literally, which used to be reserved for indicating that you were not exaggerating and that a thing really happened. Story 10. Tough one, but Google Wave. It would have revolutionized user-to-user communication and collaboration, and most of the numerous failings of modern social media simply wouldn't have been possible if we were all using Wave to access it. Wave was 3 things: a concept, a protocol, and an app. The idea was the app was in the user's control. The protocol was open, so anyone could build an app to consume all the data. The problem was, to demonstrate this, Google threw together a horrible, unintuitive, lumpy Java app. And then, and what I think was a first for Google, made an early beta of the app, which was nearer alpha quality, available to the masses. The masses, being stupid people who didn't read up on what Wave was all about, they just played with the app and hated it, and therefore decreed that Wave was dead before it even launched. Which was a real shame, as under the hood it was a real game changer. Story 11: ADHD medication. Because a bunch of people who don't need it try abusing it, I can't get more than a month of medication at a time. Do you understand how inconvenient it is to try to get monthly refills when my brain doesn't understand the concept of consistency? Story 12: bike paths, traffic calming, and pedestrian-friendly design. Us little people figured all this was a great idea, and it was intuitively obvious where they'd do the most good. Political hacks see the opportunity for glory projects, skip the obvious opportunities in areas of need, ignore local input, and blow through piles of money on reinventing the wheels, abonin the wheel, which they call innovative in the press release, and boondoggles in areas where there was no realistic demand or need for such amenities. For the tiny few who do find the new construction helpful, maintenance will be neglected as the politicians set more money on fire chasing another shiny thing. Story 13: Pride. Pride was a riot for our rights. We were the outcasts of society. Drag queens, kinksters, trans people, the whole LGBT. We all fought for our rights against the police. Now people have forgotten the point of Pride Month. People are trying to ban kinksters and trans people and invite little kids into what once was a riot for our lives. Corporations profiting off us, dumb people trying to adjust history to their own beliefs, the uneducated and corrupt. Story 14: Voting. Everyone who votes should pass a basic civics test. Stupidity is killing our democracy, as our elected representatives are increasingly manifestations of grievances and hatreds and not of our aspirations. Story 15. Food delivery. Tried to hand my buddy cash and told him I'd pay for pizza. He couldn't find anywhere to order from without paying first through an app. People are stupid for accepting this as the new norm. Tipping before you receive the service? Delivery drivers seeing the tip before they take a delivery is ridiculous. Story 16. Gas cans. I promise more gas is spilled today than was ever wasted in the past with normal cans that just had a spout. Part of the problem is how the new cans are designed. They build them for a car and they work okay-ish for that purpose. But who uses a gas can on their car? People want to fill motorcycles, or lawnmowers, or leaf blowers, and countless other small engines with small tanks where you can't shove a weird foreskin-activated 4-inch-long gas spout into a tank 2 inches deep and expect it to work properly. Story 17. Digital media in general. TV, internet, video games. Other than the latter one, these media can be super useful. But practically speaking, screens have just become executive dysfunction induction machines that people use as an escape to never truly start living. Screens have stolen so many years of my life, it's crazy. Story 18. Internet with Flash. Look, I know there were hackers exploiting the Flash deal and keeping everything updated was a technological nightmare hellscape. But Steve Jobs killed something special by trying to make everything flow through his monetized app store. It used to be that every website was a work of love and art. It used to be possible to play a 3D shooter, or a 2D side-scroller, or a in-depth RPG just by navigating your browser to a memorized URL and loading that sucker up. Every company had unique rolling sidebar navigation animations. Every website had style and could play music, MySpace, or wow you with interactive widgets, or rabbit hole information you could actually feel awesome about finding the secret shortcut to. Now it's all flat. Now, there's nothing to do here except download an app that doesn't have the style. Thanks, Jobs. Story 19. Higher education. Parents in the 1960s saw that a degree guarantees you a cushy and respected job with a corner office, company car, and hot secretary. So they made their kids ashamed of blue-collar jobs and pushed them into higher education. Now in the Western, and probably most of the Eastern world, we have an overeducated population. With only so many elite jobs to go around, so many are underemployed. Story 20. Bringing your own damn drinks on the plane. Thanks, Liquid Bomber. Now we have the pleasure of paying $6 for reclaimed gutter water before hopping on a flight, instead filling up Nalgene bottles with clear rum. Assholes! Story 21. One genuinely useful thing that comes to mind is social media. Initially designed to connect people and foster communication, it's been somewhat ruined by trolls, misinformation, and cyberbullying. The negative behavior of a minority has overshadowed its original purpose, making it a less enjoyable and reliable space for many users. Story 22. Capitalism. You have a third or fourth generation of fucking morons inheriting the company daddy built, suppressing competition and automating or outsourcing all the jobs, then increasing prices to get an 8th consecutive quarter of record profits. Then they go get their government loan. Story 23. The media. Great journalists doing impressive, balanced analysis of the issues of the day that informed people was what we had. Today, with idiots at the helm and solely being driven by advertising rather than content, we get total BS that is dividing countries by being aligned to a certain political movement. Story 24. American politics on both sides of the aisle. Back in the day, both parties had respectable platforms and good ideas, and knew how to debate while still being respectful of each other. They were also able to compromise and sometimes even see eye to eye on certain issues, something that is very rare now. These days, both sides have become way too partisan and sometimes even radical, and have some absolutely ridiculous views and arguments. And the hardcore supporters of either side are both insufferable and very brainwashed. Also, many of the people we vote into public office are awful and downright unqualified. Just look at the last 2 presidents, the current presidential candidates, and the majority of Congress. If the dumbing down of American politics continues, then we are fucked as a country. Story 25. Would the Republican Party count? At one time, the GOP stood for progressive rights and seemed actually concerned with the welfare of the American people. Now it's, well, look at it. It's a damn mess. Racists, fascists, homophobes, and other sorts of hateful warmongers. And folks like MTG, Teddy Cruz, and Greg Abbott, to name just a few, Our proof the party is spiraling into utter stupidity. Story 26. I'm an educator, and don't get me wrong, I love my job. But literally any material in my classroom that I have purchased with my own money. I work with upper elementary, and I have found my things broken and in the trash without any explanation on multiple occasions. I know accidents happen and things get worn out and break, but if I have to supply so many things for my classroom, like seating options, books, games, manipulatives, I would hope that they could survive longer than a few months. Story 27. Public e-bikes and e-scooters. I live in a party town, beach town, and the amount of drunk people I see tossing them in the lake or just deliberately trashing them is so lame. I genuinely use these things to commute, and now there's just less and less available because people keep fucking with them. Our public transit is trash, so these things were a godsend. They're not just a fun outing, people use these things. Stop breaking them. Story 28. Gyms. When I go to mine, I have to prepare for the TikTokers and their camera setups. While I intend to have nothing to do with these, when I encounter them, I treat them as if they don't exist. For me, there are no cameras to be coming or sight lines to interfere with or any of that crap. If you want to film yourself uninterrupted, reserve time or get a membership at a 24-hour gym and do it at 3 a.m. I refuse to have my own gym activities denied or interfered with by some loser filming her ass for Instagram so she can complain about people objectifying her. Story 29. Bitcoin. Developed to create a decentralized currency for ordinary people that is not controlled by banks or governments, read the rich and powerful, quickly became a convenient, unregulated speculation object for the rich and powerful, as well as a great tool for money laundering. Story 30. Semaglutide. Once we found out that this diabetes medication was effective for weight loss, everybody felt like they were 10 pounds overweight and started bugging their doctors for medication like Ozempic. The resulting influx of demand forced insurance companies to clamp down on approving this drug. Now, instead of being able to treat my diabetes effectively, I have to basically use medication and methods that would otherwise be unnecessary, or pay prohibitively expensive prices for medication that my insurance should be paying for. And don't get me wrong, we can go back and forth about whether it's the drug company or the insurance, or the docs that overprescribe, or people who abuse prescription drugs like this. Either way, I'm the one who ends up paying.